So much for being here this afternoon to talk about the academic experience at Sewanee. We're so glad to see all of you here. My name is Cassie Meyer. I'm Assistant Dean for Student Equity and Career Readiness in the Office of Career Readiness and Student Success. I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of our time together. We're going to start by hearing from some different faculty and staff on campus who will talk with you about different parts of the academic experience, everything from your first semester of classes to talking with your parents now that they won't automatically be sent your grades because you're an adult. Then we'll hear from some fantastic students who are also orientation leaders. So you'll get to spend a lot of time with them when you get to campus in the fall. They're going to share their perspectives and their tips for succeeding academically and transitioning to college life at Sewanee. After that, we'll have time for your questions. Those questions could be for our student speakers, for any of the other speakers that you'll hear from, or just general questions you have. You're not sure who to direct it at. Please feel free to ask it. The way that you're going to ask questions is you're going to use the Q&A button that's at the bottom of your screen. And you'll just be able to pop the question in there. That'll come over to my colleague, Elizabeth Swallow. She's a career readiness and student success coach, and she's going to be monitoring those questions. She'll collect them for the team. And then when we get to the Q&A time of our conversation, she'll share those questions with us, and we'll let the folks who have insight into those answers respond. We wanted to remind you that we have a few more sessions coming up on Wednesday, June 19th at 4:30 Central. There will be a session called Live at Sewanee. That'll be a conversation with Res Life and Sewanee Dining. So that's a fun one that you'll definitely want to be a part of. On Wednesday, July 17th at 4:30 p.m., we'll be doing Experience Sewanee, and that's all about how to get involved and build community at Sewanee. And then finally, student accessibility services will be doing office hours for students interested in talking about accommodations beginning next Wednesday. You can find more information about all of those sessions and register for them in Engage. We'll have time for questions at the end, as I mentioned, but if you have questions at any point, something that you maybe don't want to pose in this format, or if you think of something later tonight, you can email studentsuccess@sewanee.edu. Again, studentsuccess@sewanee.edu, and I think Elizabeth is putting that into the chat for you for reference. We'll make sure that whatever question you ask there, we point it in the direction of the right person who can help answer that. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dean Betsy Sandlin to give an overview of what you can expect from your academic experience at Sewanee. And just one logistical thing. I'll introduce each of our panelists, but if you don't mind turning off your video while someone else is talking, that would be fantastic. So thanks.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. As Cassie said, my name is Betsy Sandlin, and I'm Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences and also a professor in the Spanish department. And I'm just super excited to welcome you to Sewanee and to meet you in person in August as you begin your college journey with us. I wanted to just say a few quick things about your academic experience here at Sewanee, and you're going to hear much more detail in the next few moments. You've chosen to come to Sewanee presumably because you really want to get to know your classmates and you want to get to know your faculty and all the staff. And you don't want to just sort of blend into the crowd or sit passively in the back of a giant lecture hall. Instead, you want to be engaged in conversation and dialogue, debate, and you want to be an active participant in an intellectual community. And that's great, because really what we're expecting from you is that you not only show up to class or lab, but that you actively engage, participate, ask questions. In short, we want you to contribute. You do belong here. We want you to feel that you belong here and you have a whole lot to offer to our community. So don't be afraid to jump right in. You may know exactly what you want to study, what you want to major and minor in, and that's great. We have lots of academic programs for you to choose from, but you may also have absolutely no idea what you want to study or major in. And I want you to know that if you're in that boat, that is also fine and wonderful. In fact, we encourage you to come to Sewanee with an open mind and explore. Even if you think you do know what you want to study, we have designed a general education curriculum that will kind of force you to do a little bit of academic exploration. Hopefully you'll discover something new and exciting along the way. And so you'll hear more about that in a moment. but we focus on developing skills, intellectual skills, and habits of mind that you can carry with you no matter what you study, no matter what you do for a living after you finish your Sewanee experience. So with that, I'll just say, in the Zoom call today and afterwards, have an open mind, get ready to explore. Be sure to ask all the questions that you have. There's no question too large or too small. And welcome again to Sewanee. And with that, I'm going to turn it over back to Cassie, I suppose.
Thank you so much, Dean Sandlin. I'm now going to turn it over to Dean Brooke Harrington, who's going to talk with us a little bit about your first courses that you'll get to take at Sewanee and your academic advisor. Thanks, Brooke.
So you can hear me. I think Elizabeth may have turned my video off while somebody else was talking. Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. So welcome to Sewanee. Glad everybody is here today. I know one of the biggest questions, aside from like, who am I going to meet? Who are going to be my friends? Where am I going to live? Is what courses am I going to take my first semester? And so to help orchestrate what those courses look like, you will be filling out what we refer to as a course selection form. You'll receive a notification via email towards the end of the month that lets you know when that course selection form is open. And that will be part of your checklist that you're doing through that admissions portal. So you'll see it there when it's ready. And you have through the month of June to complete that. So there's no hurry in doing it. It's not a first come, first serve basis. It's open. And we want you to just spend some time thinking about like what courses you want to take. And to do that, it's a lot of courses that you have the options of. So we're going to narrow that down for you. And we're going to ask about what areas of interest do you have? And that could be like, you might be interested in a particular major, maybe a minor, or you just have a subjects of interest, right? Or something that you really liked in high school. And so we're going to ask those questions. And then we'll also ask, like, from this list of courses, which sound most interesting to you? And so from that, we will create a schedule. Now, if you put down all history courses, for example, we won't put you in all history courses. We want you to have a balanced schedule of things that you may be interested in studying as a major, but also things that apply to general education. So you have a little bit more well-rounded first semester schedule. And then we're also going to be looking at classes that hopefully that you'll have a Monday through Friday schedule. I know a lot of students in college don't want to take early morning Monday classes or don't want to have classes on Friday, but for your first semester, at least, it's really valuable to have classes each day, if not at least 4 days a week, just for the time management, because you'll have so much more unstructured time. And so to have scheduled classes and to have specific study times around those will be really helpful for your first semester. So that's what we'll be doing throughout July, is making those schedules for students based on information that you have put on the form. We will try to get as many of those classes as you've listed. I can't promise that we will give you all 4. Most students will end up taking a language course their first semester. And so really, we're going to look at the 3 additional courses that you're going to share your interest in as well. So one hopefully might be a major interest course, and then maybe a minor interest, maybe just a subject interest, and then definitely a general education course. So it'll be well-rounded. And hopefully courses that you'll be interested in and engaged in. And maybe it might be new areas that you haven't really explored before, but that we think, you know, just based on what your interests are and what you've shared with us, that it might be a good fit for you. We'll release those schedules in early August. We don't have a specific date. It just depends on how quickly we can get that done. We have a group of people that will work on those schedules. If when you're going through that course selection form and you have any questions at all, you can reach out to one of our faculty guides. All that information will be posted on the website. And in the email that you get about the course selection form, there will be links in there to show you how to schedule an appointment with a faculty guide to walk you through that or answer any questions that you may have. So that will be available to you throughout the month of June. So just know that. And then you can always email advising@sewanee.edu or studentsuccess@sewanee.edu with any questions that you have as well, if that's easier for you. So once the schedules are made, they'll be released in early August, as I had said, and then When you get to campus for orientation, you will have a designated time to meet with your advisor. At that time, you all can talk about your schedule. If there's questions that you may have, or you feel like you need to reschedule something, they can work with you on that as well. Please keep in mind, if we have any athletes, we are taking that into consideration. So we will not have any classes that conflict with your practice schedule. So please know that we are very aware of the sensitivity that the practice schedules have. So not to worry at all about that. We'll take that definitely under advisement. So look forward to having you on campus pretty soon.
Thank you so much, Brooke. I'm going to take a minute just to talk with you about success and career coaching at Sewanee. We talk a lot about Sewanee being a place where you have a team of people supporting you, your academic advisor, like Brooke just spoke about, your professors in your individual courses. If you're on an athletic team, your coach for that team, other students who are peer mentors, and then staff in different offices throughout the university. Your student success and career readiness coach is an essential member of your team of support. You'll be assigned a coach to work with you throughout your 4 years. We are here to help you navigate your transition to college, to develop your academic skills, and think about who you want to be in the world after Sewanee, whether that's thinking about a summer internship or thinking about it as you're closer to graduation. We'll reach out to you and introduce ourselves to you over text later this summer. You can text back with any questions and we'll help you find the answers. Some students ask if there are real people behind the text messages, and the answer is yes, it is us. We are texting you. So that's a great place. Just any question you have, even if we're not the right people to answer it, we can help you find the answer. Once you get to campus, we encourage you to set up a meeting with your coach within the first month of classes, and we'll send you information about how to do that. We can work with you to think through your academic strengths and potential challenges you might have or growth areas for college. And we can also help you think about how to get involved or find belonging on campus. As Brooke mentioned, when you're in high school, a lot of your time is very scheduled for you. You've got to get to class at a certain time, activities at certain times, homework at certain times, and it can be really structured. In college, it's really different from that. You can kind of think of school and your coursework as a full-time job, so it should take up most of your week, but you have to do a lot of the structure for yourself. And a lot of students can struggle with that. It can feel like you have all this free time, but what you really need to be doing is using that free time to stay on top of your assignments. And that kind of thing is great to work with a coach on. We can build a plan and a structure for time management with you. Some students find it helpful to meet with their coach regularly throughout the semester, every other week or something like that. Other students just meet with their coaches maybe in preparation for midterm or finals. Maybe they want to put together a plan to manage all the big deadlines they have coming up. And then some students primarily meet with their coaches to think about career readiness. So that's thinking about summer internships or jobs. Your professors might also refer you to a coach if they think you could use some additional academic support. Take them up on it. If they refer you, it means that they're seeing something where they know we can be a helpful resource for you. Finally, if your financial aid package indicates that you're eligible for work study, that is to say a campus job that's a part of your financial aid, you can email our office to set up an appointment to meet with a coach over the summer. We can help you search for a role that will be a good fit for you and also help you prepare your materials. We also review those materials when you apply, so you may hear from us if you apply and we think you can make your materials stronger and therefore be a stronger candidate for those work study positions. The takeaway is that coaches are here to support you as you get to Sewanee and throughout your career. Okay, and with that, I will turn it over to Dean Alex Bruce.
Hi, good afternoon, and I wish I could see faces. I'm looking at the list of attendees, and I'm just so pleased. Allison and Charlotte and Josephine and Owen and all the folks who've showed up. And let me actually make an observation here. And the students who are on the panel, I think, will bear it out. You have done one of the most important things toward your success. You have shown up. You're here, you're ready to participate, you're eager to learn, and that's the kind of student we want. So I look forward to getting to know you because in part of my work is supporting students who are pursuing, this is a few years down the line, but they're pursuing postgraduate scholarships and internships, and they are the ones who showed up. So thank you for showing up. My name is Alex Bruce. I'm the Associate Dean of the College for Undergraduate Academic Affairs. I work closely with Dean Sandlin. I also teach in the English department. And my topic is how to talk with your parents about academics. You are all finishing high school. Maybe you've had graduation already, or it's a week or two from now, and you're kind of excited about that. And as a couple of folks have already said, you're about to enter a different structure by being off at college and not at high school. So you are very, very likely to be 18 or older when you start college in August. You're an adult. You've got some a different legal status. Think about this. Sewanee educates the student, and you know this. You're the one who's in class, going to class, doing the work. It's your name on the diploma. It's your education. But your parents probably have a clear interest in how well you're doing. Because of a particular law that's called the FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, we can't tell your parents your grades. You have control over the information that is shared with others, and that's even on campus. Not every office has a right to see your academic information. It's only what's relevant. It's limiting what we can talk about with parents as well. Now, if something's going on with your physical or mental well-being, if that's at risk, yeah, Sewanee's going to reach out because we want to make sure you're safe. That doesn't go for grades and other academic matters. And your parents will say, but I don't understand. I'm paying the bills. How come I can't see the grades? What does this mean for you? It means you need to sort out lines of communication with your parents. Each family has their own dynamic. It's far, far better to have that conversation now in the summer before going off to college and leaving it up in the air. It's really bigger than talking about just academics. It's the entire college experience and what your parents will be expecting of you and what you're expecting in return. Because again, you're an adult and you've got autonomy here. But let's agree with the premise that your parents do want you to succeed. And some of that means you need to take the initiative. That's part of your own development as a student. And we've heard from folks already about the resources you have on campus with your academic coach, your advisor. You have faculty who want to support you. So part of your academic experience is learning how to tap into those resources on your own. But parents will call, they will call me, they will be curious about what's going on. And I can tell them what's published in the catalog. That's common information. If they want to talk about specifics, I will say, have you talked with your student? You know more, you the student, you know more about what's going on in your class than I do. And if they really want to have a conversation, I'll try and make it, or I will make it where all three of us are involved. Actually, I'd kind of like to step out of that and let you talk with your parents on your own, but I'll certainly facilitate conversations. That's really important because you need to be part of a conversation. You know, if you're attending class, how well you're doing with exams, what you did on the last paper. I can only see a grade. So have these conversations directly, honestly, openly with your folks. They don't want surprises. Be ready when folks ask. It might be me asking, it might be your parents asking, what have you done, you, the student, what have you done to make sure you succeed? Have you turned to your professors, to your academic coach, to other campus resources? I know you want to be independent. I know you understand that this is your education. Pardon, that this is your education. It's your responsibility. helping you learn and develop and grow into that autonomy and confidence is part of what Sewanee does. And I, again, genuinely believe that your parents support that growth. Now, they may have a particular major or minor for you, in mind for you. They really want you to study a certain area. That's part of the beauty of our general education curriculum, is that you'll be out there sampling a lot of different courses. It's a wonderful educational buffet. You'll get to try a little of this and a little of that before you go in and know exactly what you want moving forward. Help your parents understand that you're trying a variety of courses because, well, that's what Sewanee makes you do. But I'll wrap up in the moment here by saying, please do take time this summer to establish clear expectations of communication with your parents. Do that this summer. Do that now before grades and academic performance is involved, and it will be a heck of a lot easier. And certainly, to verify that what I have said is true, I believe we have some student panelists that we'll be going to next. And Cassie, I'll step off and just say again, thank you and welcome, and I'm very glad you're here.
Thank you so much, Dean Bruce. And I'll go ahead and ask Chapel, Leo, and Jasmine to all turn on their videos now and join us. Hey, y'all. Thank you so much. It's so nice to see your faces. So yeah, I'm so glad to have 3 fantastic student leaders. As I mentioned, there'll be orientation leaders as well, so you'll get to spend time with them at orientation. I wanted to remind everybody before we jump into the questions that I have prepared for our students, that you can ask questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. So feel free to just type anything in there as it comes up, and that'll go straight over to Elizabeth Swallow, and she'll be ready with those questions for us when we finish the first part of our conversation with Chapel, Leo, and Jasmine. So my first question for all of y'all is just to ask you to go around, and maybe we'll go in this order: Chapel, Leo, and then Jasmine, because that's how you are on my screen. If you could just briefly say what you are majoring in, if you've declared your major, or what you're intending to major in, and then also where your hometown is, so we get a sense of where y'all are from.
Hi, I'm Chapel. I'm a rising junior. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, and I am a sustainability major.
Hello, I'm a rising junior as well. I am planning to major in physics, and I am from Vero Beach, Florida.
I'm Jasmine. I am a rising senior, and I am from Houston, Texas. And I am majoring in molecular biology and genetics, and also double majoring in Spanish.
Wonderful. Thanks, y'all. So here's my first question for you. Think back to when you were a bright-eyed freshman student. What was the hardest thing for you to learn, or the most unexpected thing that you discovered in your transition from high school to college? And we'll go in the same order again.
I think for me personally, something that was really unexpected from the transition from high school to college was really just getting that personal relationship with your professors. Sewanee is such a small school, and just like going to a professor's office hours and asking for help is totally an okay thing to do. They're there to help you. They want to see you succeed just as much as everyone else. And I think that coming from like kind of a mid-sized high school where sometimes like teachers can get overwhelmed or can't really offer you as much resources because you're in a class with like 40 other students, it's really nice in college when professors have like set office hours to go to. And I would say it was a little bit difficult for me to kind of like get over that original anxiety and really force myself to go to their office hours when I was needing help, and just really cultivating a relationship with them and helping them, like getting to know them, and then also like learning from them.
Thank you, Leo.
For me, definitely balancing out all the activities that are provided and workload. There's a lot of clubs that I like to be involved in, and so not going to every single event to maybe study for your next chemistry exam should be a little bit of a priority.
Wait, tell us just quickly, like what a couple of the clubs are that you've gotten involved in.
The chess club, the mixed martial arts club, and blanking on it right now because there's a lot of clubs at the school, but I don't go to all of them as much as the first two that I just mentioned.
That's great. I love it. Shows the diversity of opportunities though. Thanks. Jasmine, how about you?
First, I think I have two, but first it's on looking at like clubs and activities. I was really shy person at first, and so putting myself out there and like learning about different clubs and activities on campus, like I was very hesitant to like attend like a meeting or like attend an activity or attending many things or where they would like email us being like, oh, like there's an event happening, like I would be very hesitant to attend or go to. But I think it's just um going out with friends and like finding that group of people that want to attend those events and clubs and activities. And then also the balance work. It's a lot of work. I think in high school, I didn't expect it to be like very load worked. Because in high school there was like less homework, like I wasn't doing much, especially because it was during COVID. I guess I graduated during the COVID time, and there was like even less of their homework. And then when I got to college, it was just like the workload and like the schedules and everything.
I feel like you all took me back to freshman year with those answers because I remember being so intimidated to kind of put myself out there and then figuring out the balance of time. Thank you all. So my next question connects to something that we've been talking about, just how your relationship with your parents shifts a little bit, or your family shifts when they don't have the same kind of access to how you're doing academically. And I'm just curious to hear from you all. How did you talk about grades with your family? How did you communicate with them about your academic success and challenges? And how did your relationship with them change? And maybe what advice do you have for our students, our incoming students, based on that?
Well, I would say every single family is going to be different. But like for my experience personally, in high school, I mean, my parents were the type to check my grades every single day. They would pull them up, and it's like no matter how well I was doing, they just like to check in. They like to see it. They're kind of nosy. I don't know. And so, um, but then when I went to college, obviously they can't do that. And so it was very much just like whenever I called in, I was more expecting them to be like, how are your grades? Are you going to class? Are you doing this? But really they were more just, I guess, focused on how I was doing, like how I was transitioning, if I liked my roommate, what was I eating at the dining hall? Was I taking care of myself? Like, and I think that that's just something that you don't really expect. They like definitely let up a little bit about the grades, but I will also say they were a great resource to have my freshman year when I was just getting so overwhelmed. I think the first time I'd really talked to them about it was I just did so terribly on like one of the first quizzes, the first 2 weeks of freshman year, and I called them and I was like, I studied, I don't know what to do. And they were just like very understanding. They knew that I was in this brand new place with all these new people. I was trying to like balance friendships and like also try to like create this whole new schedule for myself and teach myself like pretty much everything, like when I need to eat, when I need to do my laundry, all this other stuff. And so they're going to be more understanding than you like would think, no matter the parent.
Great, thanks. Leo, how about you?
I had a very similar experience, parents in high school looking at my grades, a lot, but once I made it to college, they cared more about me than the grades themselves. They actually never really asked about it. I just tell them when I feel comfortable about it, and usually they're like, "Oh, great," or "That's unfortunate." There's always next time, but that has been my personal experience.
Jasmine, how about you?
Similar. My parents really didn't care about well, they didn't really ask about my grades as they did in high school. Um, but I did struggle with like getting like maybe like a bad grade here and there. And I like going to Cassie. She knows that I go to her office sometimes and talk about my grades and what's the next step that we can do to like improve my grades. So I really like that Sewanee has those resources out there other than, I guess, my parents, which I didn't really talk about my grades with them, but yeah.
Thanks, Jasmine. I promise that wasn't a plant. Um, okay, so next question for you all. What campus resources did you find most helpful in your first year? Or were there resources that kind of, as you got further along, you wish you had taken advantage of in your first year, but you didn't?
So my freshman year, if you've toured Sewanee, you've definitely seen the writing center. It's in the library. They point it out in every tour. And I remember thinking like my freshman year, oh, that's like a really cool concept, but I don't need to go to that. Like I'm a good writer. I don't need to go to that. And I think it was also maybe a little almost embarrassing because the writing center is made up of student tutors. And so I'm like, oh, I don't want someone I know like reading my paper. Like that's so embarrassing. I don't know. I definitely wish I had like gotten over myself a little bit because I just started using it this past year, my sophomore year. And just like my writing, which was good already, my grades were so much better, especially when you're writing papers or like subjects you've never written for before. So it's not just like going to be your average English paper. I'll take like something for one of my policy classes or something for an econ class. And I'll have, usually it's a student whose major is like kind of correlated to that. That's who they try to match you up with. And they are just so helpful. They are always so kind. And I definitely wish I'd utilized that more my freshman year. I had several of my friends who did, like they could not recommend it enough, but it was definitely just a little hard to get into it. But now I am an avid writing center supporter, so I really recommend you use it too your freshman year.
Thanks for that. Thanks for being honest too about kind of, the barriers you had to get over to take advantage of that. How about you, Leo?
For me personally, there was three things that really helped me out in my career. I call them the 3 T's. It was teachers, tutors, and the smart person right next to me. And honestly, for me, when I would go to the tutor instead of a teacher is when I couldn't make it to their office hours. And usually they're very accommodating, at least for the STEM courses, because they do it at night when you're not so busy with other stuff during the day. And they've been really, really helpful because it's just a bunch of student tutors who also are very willing to help you out. And even if you don't find time to find the tutors, I'd say speaking to the people around you could be really helpful because in my case, I usually found somebody who sits near me, who is willing to work with me on the homework, or someone who's willing to help me out when they have some free time. So if you pay attention to those 3 things, you're probably going to do really well in your classes.
For me, it was office hours. You can definitely see the difference in like the grades, when you go to office hours and when you don't. At first, like during my freshman year, I didn't attend any office hours. And then to my sophomore year, I attended a few times. But recently I've been using office hours a lot, and you can tell like the grades are like improving. And also I would recommend to go to office hours because your professors gain that relationship with you, and they're more comprehensive onto as to like what's going on with your grades, or like if you need to be excused by something, like it's easier to like get that off just because you grew that connection with your professor other than just attending classes.
Thanks so much for that, Jasmine. And both you and Chapel mentioned office hours. Can you explain what that is, Jasmine? Because I know that's kind of a new concept sometimes coming from high school.
Yeah, so professors have a period of time during the day. It can be various days of the week. It could be like a Monday or like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, depending on how the professor is busy or not. But it's an available time period where you can just attend his office or her office, and you can ask any questions, go over anything, material based, or just talk about your life. And professors love it. They love to. They're always like in the first week, they're always gonna be like, come to my office hours, or like every time you see them, come to my office hours, because they really like to talk.
That's great. Thank you so much. Okay, I have one last question before we transition to hearing some of the questions from those of y'all who are gathered. And it's not too late. Go ahead and pop some more questions in the Q&A if you have them. But this question is about Dean Harrington talked about how everyone's going to get to take classes, both in the things that they're interested in and also that meet their general education classes. I'm really curious if any of y'all have an example of a course that you took that you never thought you would take, and then you ended up loving it, even if you didn't major in it or it was the only class you took in that subject. Like, what's a kind of random course that you were like, I never thought I would take that, but I'm glad I did?
I have a good one for this. So my freshman year, I kind of randomly decided to sign up for this playwriting class. And I had never taken a creative writing class before. I had never done anything like that. And it was just like beginning playwriting. It met like, I think once a week for a few hours. And I was kind of just like, oh, this seems like fun. I've always wanted to try writing. And by the end of it, I mean, I had just like fallen in love with it. We had written each of us 2 small plays, each like 2 10-minute-ish, I think, plays. And we'd also read so many of these like incredible plays and just studied them all semester long. And I just had this like newfound like respect for it. It was something I never really thought I'd get to do. And I also made like a lot of close friends. It was a really small class, only I think 9 other students. And so we all just like got really close. We would like read and review each other's work. And yeah, and then I have 2 plays that I like wrote now, and that's pretty cool. So not something I think I would have been able to do anywhere else.
Great. I love that. Leo or Jasmine, do you have a class that you took that you unexpectedly really enjoyed?
A politics class, South African politics. Not the type of thing, most of my classes are math related, so I was really just trying to get the general education requirement out of the way. But it honestly gave me a lot of perspective on just how that side of the world works, and I really appreciated taking that class.
Great, thanks. Jasmine, how about you? Do you have one in mind?
Yeah, I took women's and gender studies, and like it was just to get my gen ed, and I didn't really want to like major or minor or anything related to that. And it was also an 8 a.m., which was kind of like really bad for me. But I actually really did enjoy it, and it just put me in that position where I learned more about more history and more of like something that I wasn't going to learn in my bio or Spanish classes.
That's great. Thank you so much. I'm going to now turn it over to my colleague Elizabeth Swallow to facilitate. Elizabeth, maybe as you are reading out some of the questions that we've received, if you want to let which panelist know who you think might be well positioned to answer the question, and then they can turn their video back on. I think some of our first ones might have been first students. So if you want to start with those, Elizabeth, the students can keep their videos on. But actually, Elizabeth, you've got all the questions in front of you, so you take it away.
Thank you, Cassie. Yeah, we'll start with for the students. There was a question what came in, and it was about studying. It was specific to finals, like what is your best strategies for studying for finals? I think it can be broader than that. So, like, do you have any recommendation about how you go about your academic studies? Specifically, it mentioned frequent review versus like maybe some plain memorization. So how do you go about that academic study cycle that you're having to learn for the various different classes? Like, what was your approach and prioritization?
I think everyone is gonna like study differently, but something I've really adapted to, especially in college, is group studying. It can be a little intimidating to like get people from your class together, but really just getting like 2 or 3 numbers within the first week of school, and then trying to like make a little group, even if it's just for a few hours, can really help because you don't really realize where the gaps in your knowledge are in a certain class until you're with other people and creating kind of like a big study guide almost. You're just using all of your notes, everything you've learned, and it's really great for midterms and finals, but it's also good for just like quizzes or if you have like a project you want to do, you can invite some people to the from the class to like kind of look at your project first, maybe like run it through them with them. But yeah, I think group studying is definitely a great study tool, and it's going to be super useful to you in college.
I would personally look at all the old tests and review them, make sure you can do all of them. And if you can find extra practice tests online and practice those as well, that would be very ideal. If you run out of practice tests, I would then go over to checking over your homework assignments and being able to do all of those and kind of just loop through those over and over again.
I do something similar to Chapel, but I do it on my own, where I create like a big study guide based on the units and based on like slides from class. I've noticed that flashcards for me work a lot. And then also some professors are really nice and they do like I guess like a review session before like a big exam or a big quiz on like slides or something, and they can post it on Brightspace and you can also access that and just take like the quick points from that.
Fabulous, thank you all. I have another question. It's actually about sort of student life. We had a question about how is life in the dorms, and I actually don't maybe know if there's someone else on the call in addition to the students who can also speak to how the ability of room assignment goes. So
I think Emily might have been encouraging that conversation for the next session on living at Sewanee.
okay, there we
Yeah.
go. Living at Sewanee next. So as we will pass that one for now, I was thinking for the next question, if Brooke maybe be able to come into the conversation. We have one about how do maybe AP or dual credits from other places, what you've gained in high school, how does that impact your schedule and the selection?
Yeah, very good question. On the course selection form, students will have a place where they can let us know what dual enrollment they've done and what AP courses they've done. And so we'll take that into consideration, and because we don't want you to take a course that you already have credit for. So that's really important. One thing to mention is dual enrollment credit needs to be sent. Your transcript for the dual enrollment credit needs to be sent directly to Sewanee. So even if those credits appear on your high school transcript, you need to request them from the institution that has provided the credit. So I don't know, let's say you went to the University of Georgia for dual enrollment. So you would go to the registrar's website at the University of Georgia and request that transcript to be sent directly to Sewanee. And it's important that we have that one because that's how you get credit for that. Without it, you won't be getting credit. And also if perhaps it is a prerequisite, a prerequisite is a course that is required in order to be eligible to take the next course. We'll need to have that on record with the grade. So it's really important that you get those done. So as soon as you can do that, as soon as you know what your grades are, typically you can go ahead and request that transcript and you can send that over. Ideally, if you can send it to the registrar's office at Sewanee, if it gives you that option, that would be great. Sometimes it will default over to admissions, and so the registrar doesn't know that we have that transcript. So if you have the option on that, because it's all done electronically, if you can put the registrar's email address on there, that would be great. But otherwise, if you list the courses that you've taken, then we'll take that into consideration. In order to get credit for AP, you need to have either a 4 or a 5 on the exam. So only if one, that you've taken the exam, and two, that you received a 4 or a 5, we want to list that down. So because that's how we're taking that into consideration, because if you either did not take the AP exam or you got below a 4, we don't need to know that, right? And so let's say US history, right? So if you took a 3, but you still want to take US history at Sewanee, you would be eligible to do that, since you won't be eligible to earn the credit via AP.
Thank you, Brooke. Yeah, there was I don't know if IB was added into that as well. There was a question about IB credit. Yep.
Same concept, thanks.
We have one more question, and that's about the experience of being a double major. So what is it like to be a double major, specifically the experience for Jasmin being a science and a language, and how there maybe aren't those overlapping courses and satisfying the requirements for both majors. So maybe Jasmin, from an experience standpoint, how is that and then maybe either Brooke or Alex from like a functional technical advising standpoint would be great.
Yeah, so I accidentally double majored in Spanish. I was majoring for molecular biology and genetics. Sorry. Sorry, my nephew is coming in. But I accidentally majored in Spanish because I studied abroad my sophomore year, and you can usually people study abroad your junior year, but I decided to study abroad my sophomore year. And so based on how many credits and how many classes you take, you can also see this on this website called SOTA. You can figure it out and rearrange things to see if you can either major or minor on certain things. And so we saw that I could major in bio and also in Spanish. So yeah.
And I'll build on that, Jasmine. The program she referenced is SOTA. You'll learn about that. Actually, you're going to learn about so many different programs that you'll be able to log into and track information here at Sewanee. But if you want to double major, whether it's in science and language or any other combination, it really just takes very thoughtful planning. And as Dean Harrington noted, you're going to meet with your academic advisor right away and let that person know that you're considering that kind of path. I can't think of any programs, and colleagues, if you can think of one, please share, where you absolutely positively must be all in your very first semester. Perhaps pre-med, because there are some science lab courses that you have to take, but you would be able to have a variety of classes in your first year, and still with thoughtful, attentive planning, you'd be able to work out a double major if that's where you're drawing.
Yeah, and I'll also say, if you're interested in the 3-2 engineering program, that would be something that we would need to know right away in order to get you through on that timeline. But aside from that, you don't need to feel like you need to come in and know what your major is, even in the first year, right? You have time to explore. And in my experience, the majors at Sewanee are a little bit smaller in terms of the number of classes that you would take than you might if you know of a sibling or a friend who's taking college courses now and pursuing a major, that they may have a lot more major courses. Maybe like half of their classes could be major courses, and that's just not the case at Sewanee. And so you have a lot more flexibility in that first year to explore. As Dean Sandlin said, we really want you to take the opportunity to explore different classes, different areas that you really haven't been exposed to before. And I do think it is possible to double major because of the size of our majors, but there are courses that within that general education can count towards your major perhaps as well. So you can only actually double count 2 classes between like majors and minors if you were doing that, or double majors. But in terms of general education, some of those will also work towards your major. So it is possible, but don't also feel pressure that you have to do a double major. Pursue what you're really interested in, where you feel like your skill sets are, because really, like, if you think engineering is a great way to go because you're going to get a great job, but you are struggling in every single class and can barely make a C in that, you might want to just step back and think, like, is this the best fit for me? And like, if you're really good at languages, why not pursue that, right? Because no matter what your major is, I promise you, you will be able to get a job. We have an excellent career readiness team here. We have a great placement rating. So I would just strongly encourage you to just do what is best for you and not think about, like, I have to do X, Y, and Z in order to get a job, but just take advantage of kind of the curriculum here and the environment and kind of explore what's going to be the best fit for you.
Fabulous. Thank you all so far. Brooke, while you're still on, I think there's another question here about courses before we'll pivot. We've got about 4 minutes left. So if you do have any final questions, any of the students who are here, please feel free to pop them in the chat. So Brooke, what happens if you get registered for a class you don't want to take necessarily, or in your first semester you don't think you should be taking 4 classes? What do you think the course of action is in those instances?
Yeah, so all students will take 4 classes their first semester. Most of our classes, 98% of them are going to be 4 credits each. So going to be taking 16 credits a semester. Generally speaking, that is not too much for students. So I would definitely encourage all students to stay enrolled in the 16 credits. You will have a large window of time that you will still be able to drop a class. Let's say, gosh, I don't even know what the date is, but like 2 months in, maybe, that you can still drop a class without penalty, right? It just shows that you've dropped a course, but it doesn't affect your GPA or anything like that. In being enrolled in a full-time 4-class schedule really helps with the time management. It may not seem like that because you may think I need to dedicate more time to these 3 classes and 4 is too much. But really, if you have the 4 classes, you will find most likely that the structure needed in order to be successful, as opposed to like having extra time, is actually beneficial. So, but if you do feel like at some point you need to drop a course, you can always talk with your advisor about what that looks like and if that is a good idea. And the first part, about selecting courses. If you're enrolled in a course that you may not like, what I would say first is when you get your schedule, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. I would strongly encourage all students to go to all their classes that first week to really get a sense of what does that class entail? What is the professor like? You know, you may find like you're just more interested in it, or you have a really dynamic professor and it's just something engaging. We will not put you into kind of a random, I don't know, can't even think of what that course would be, but something that isn't going to either count towards a major that you've said you were interested in, count towards a subject that you're maybe thinking about pursuing, or that doesn't count for a general education. So just keep that in mind. The schedule is very meticulous about how we make it. So we are really doing the best. But that said, we want you to be taking classes that you're really engaged in each semester. But so you will have that first at least week. I want to say 10 days, don't quote me on that, but about the first week of classes to change your schedule. So you'll be able to drop that class and then pick up another one. Again, I would strongly encourage you before you do that to talk with your advisor. Again, there's designated times during orientation, and then you can also meet with them during that first week, during office hours. Again, they really do want to meet with you. You are not burdening them. That is what they are there for. That is part of just the community here. So always talk to your advisor about those decisions.
Perfect. Thanks, Brooke. I'm also going to just as a follow-up, if not related to maybe advising, but like orientation. So if you have any questions about the orientation process, I'm about to drop in an email that you can also like send any questions you have about the orientation process. You can direct it to this link. Also, I think we're getting close to time, so I'm going to hand it maybe back to Cassie to wrap up the session. That's all.
Great. Well, thank you so much to all of our incoming students who joined us. Thank you to our current students who are willing to share their perspectives. Just as a reminder, if you have any questions at all, you can email that email that we mentioned at the beginning and that Elizabeth put into chat. That's studentsuccess@sewanee.edu, and we'll make sure it gets directed to the right person. I wanted to remind you really quickly of our upcoming sessions. Again, we're going to have that session on living at Sewanee. That's the conversation with Res Life and Sewanee Dining on June 19th at 4:30. That'll be a great time to ask any questions that you have related to that. And I know you probably have a lot. On Wednesday, July 17th, that's where you can come to the Experience Sewanee conversation. That'll be about getting involved on campus, and that's also going to be such a rich conversation. You can register for those and find more information in Engage. Yeah, and we're just so glad to have you all here this afternoon and to welcome you to Sewanee in the fall. So thanks so much.